Good afternoon and a warm welcome to everyone. And thank you for joining this webinar about the compliance professional standards and how we use them. Now, today's webinar is part of our series of regular talking points. My name is Graham and I'll be co-presenting the webinar today along with Vinette. And the webinar will last for around an hour. The information you'll be receiving today is correct at the time of delivery, which is the 8th of December 2023. Guidance is updated regularly, so we advise you to refer to gov.uk for regular updates. So I'll start by explaining how to use the control panel and ask questions. So if you're watching on a PC, a laptop or a Mac, you'll have a control panel like the one on the screen now. Near the top of the control panel in the audio box, you'll see the red muted message. And everyone's microphone is muted so you can hear myself and Vinette clearly. You can also adjust the sound from this audio box. There's a message at the top right hand side of the screen for anyone who can't hear me. And you can usually fix audio problems if you select the phone call button and then make sure you go back and select the computer audio button again. If this doesn't solve the problem, we suggest you close the webinar and log back in. Halfway down the control panel is a handouts box, and the handouts will include links to the information being covered in the webinar today. You can download these at any point during the webinar, and they are provided in two formats, Word and PDF. So please download in whichever format you prefer. There's a question and answer box near the bottom of the panel. Type your question in the box and then send. You can make the question box bigger by selecting the symbol at the top right of the question box. You can then resize the box. Before you leave the webinar, you can choose to save the question and answer log. For those using a PC or laptop, on the control panel, select File in the top left-hand corner of the control panel and then Save Questions Log. For Mac users on the GoToMeeting toolbar, select File and Save Message Log. Now I will repeat this information and also show this slide again towards the end of the webinar. Now note, a link to a recording of the webinar plus useful links will be sent via email to you within a couple of days. If you're joining us on a phone or a tablet, you may see a toolbar instead of the control panel. In that case, tap on the question mark to ask a question, and you should take a screenshot to save answers. We suggest you do this as you go along, as you will not be able to save the question and answer log on a mobile device. Tap on the document icon to download the handouts, and the icon should already have appeared as the handouts are available for you to download. If you are unable to download the handouts, the links will be included in the follow-up email you will receive in a few days. During the webinar, we have colleagues in the background answering your questions using the control panel question and answer box. They will aim to answer as many of your questions as they can today, but may not be able to reply to them all. And please note that we're unable to answer questions specific to individual circumstances. So for that reason, can we please ask that you don't post any personal information in the question box. And finally, if we have any groups of attendees today, could I please ask you to use the question box to tell us how many additional people are taking part. For example, if there are 3 of you taking part as a group, then please type 2 in the question box. I'll just give you a couple of moments for those who need to provide that information to do so. So thank you to those who have provided that information. That's much appreciated. So without further ado then, we'll now begin the main presentation. And the Compliance Professional Standards in Customer Compliance Group launched in July 2020. On the 27th of July 2023, we published them externally to customers on gov.uk. If you're a tax agent, advisor, or unrepresented taxpayer, we're here today to tell you more about the Compliance Professional Standards and how we use them. During the webinar, we'll look at how the standards link to the HMRC Charter, look at why we've published them, what the compliance professional standards are and what they mean, and our continued work in this area. So at this point now, we're going to have a look at the first polling question for today. And this is where you can take part in the webinar by selecting one of a choice of answers. Now, no one else can see your individual reply, but we'll all be able to see the overall result as a percentage of the total replies. And I'll show you this on screen after the poll has closed. Now, your answers are useful feedback for us, so please do get involved if you can. So I've now launched that first polling question onto screen. The question being, are you aware of the compliance professional standards? So please select from yes, you are, no, you're not, or it may actually be the first time you've heard about them. Just whilst you are taking part in that poll, just a reminder, what I said a few minutes ago, if you weren't with us right at the outset, there is a handout available today. That handout includes useful links to reference material following on from this presentation today, and it's available in both Word and PDF. So please do download in whichever is your preference of those. So thank you very much. The votes have come in thick and fast, but they have now leveled off. So I will now close that and share the result with you. We can see there that 61% of you have indeed or are aware of the compliance professional standards. So thank you for taking part. There is one further poll later, but I'll now hide that off the screen and coming back to the presentation. And now I'm going to talk about how the standards link to the HMRC Charter. Now, HMRC is the UK's tax and customs authority. We're here to collect money that pays for the UK's public services and give financial support to people. Our vision is to be a trusted, modern tax and customs department, and our charter sits at the heart of this vision, setting out the services and standards of behaviour that customers should expect from us. Our compliance professional standards show how we apply the standards of the Charter in our compliance work. There are 7 Charter standards, with key principles of working with customers to help them get their tax right, and we expect mutual respect. The Charter is available on gov.uk, printed on letters, and is our public commitment to customers. The HMRC Charter is also a requirement under the Finance Act 2009. The Charter is supported further with the principles of support for customers who need extra help. As part of HMRC's legal requirements under the Finance Act 2009, Commissioners must, at least once every year, make a report reviewing the extent to which His Majesty's Revenue and Customs have demonstrated the standards of behaviour in the Charter. This publication is overseen by HMRC's Customer Experience Committee on behalf of Commissioners. The Customer Experience Committee includes members of HMRC's executive, non-executive directors, and independent advisors who have been recruited for their expertise in customer experience. The report for the period 2022 to 2023 was published on gov.uk in July 2023 and includes the progress HMRC is making to embed both the Charter and compliance professional standards into its activities. The report also includes customer and stakeholder feedback, as well as feedback from the adjudicator. HMRC's objective is to ensure we embed the Charter into everything we do. The compliance professional standards are how we do that operationally within the customer compliance group. The compliance professional standards are designed to bring the Charter to life in our operational compliance work. This is so the Charter informs and shapes the way we manage relationships and make decisions. They're about setting clear standards for what customers can expect from HMRC and what you can expect from our caseworkers when handling compliance checks and similar interventions. The standards will form the basis of how we will evaluate the quality of our performance. For example, through the Tax Settlement Assurance Programme and other key sources of data and insight, such as complaints. They will also inform our training requirements and continuing professional development. The format and wording of the standards and the key requirements that support them have been written to align closely with the HMRC Charter. Although we have only 4 standards, they contain every element of the HMRC Charter. There are 4 compliance professional standards. These are getting things right, being aware of my customer's situation, being responsive, which is about communicating with customers, and treating customers fairly. Each of the standards are supported by an expectation and 6 requirements. So now I'm going to go through why we have published the standards. We need the HMRC Charter to be more than words on a page and demonstrate externally with you, our customers, as well as internally, our intent and commitment. By publishing these standards, we want to promote greater transparency and build trust in the way that we manage compliance. We need to be accountable for the service we provide in our compliance work and be seen to be accountable. We also want to draw links with other key policies and practices, such as litigation and settlement strategy, the HMRC Code of Governance, and HMRC Framework for Cooperative Compliance. The compliance professional standards ensure that all our activity consciously considers the customer experience. Effective compliance activity starts with an understanding of the customer. If we don't understand what's happening, how can we make things easier? Ensure the standards give us a clear definition of what good compliance activity looks like for our people, our customers, their agents and third parties. Ensure that you have a well-rounded set of measures and use a range of data sources to help us evaluate the impact of our compliance activity. And ensure the customer is at the heart of all our work. We aim to treat you fairly with integrity and respect. So let's summarise on what we've talked about so far. The compliance professional standards give us a framework for what good looks like in our compliance work. When we talk about professionalism, we mean doing the right things in the right way at the right time to get the right outcomes for HMRC and our customers. So at this point now, I'm going to pass over to Vinette to take us on to the next part of the presentation. So good afternoon to you, Vinette.
Good afternoon, Graham, and good afternoon to everyone who's joined us on this webinar today. Let's talk about the first standard, getting things right. The expectation that underpins this standard is that we will correctly apply the law, guidance, and business procedures relevant to our roles. This standard is essentially about what that looks like for HMRC and our customers. We expect a small minority of our cases to go to tribunal or litigation. We don't know which customers they will be, so we aim to work everything to litigation standard. This means we work them correctly and there's nothing to fear. Working to litigation standard simply means we're managing everything properly within the law and our published policies. It also means protecting our customers' information and keeping it secure. Getting things right means being accurate in our work, being clear with our customers, making a note of our decisions, and using our recording systems correctly. It means our caseworkers keep their professional knowledge up to date and refer to guidance or a manager if they are uncertain about what to do. If a caseworker identifies indicators of tax evasion, money laundering, or other criminality, we expect them to make timely referrals. We recognize that a dishonest minority cheat the system, but it is our responsibility to collect and protect the money that pays for the UK's public services. It also means the caseworker accepting that they can't know everything, taking advice when they are unsure, and recognizing that for some things they will need specialist advice. The second standard is being aware of the customer's situation. The expectation for this standard is we will make it as easy as possible for our customers to engage with HMRC's compliance activity. We ask our caseworkers to think about this as standing in a customer's shoes and being alert to their circumstances, making sure our customers understand what they should do and by when. We should take account of their circumstances, ensuring they have the support they need. We ask our caseworkers to consider your circumstances too. Sometimes we ask for a lot of information, and that can take time to pull together. Or perhaps the information needs to come from another source, such as a bank, and we need to understand it's not always quick or easy. We also recognize that there are busy periods, for example, SA peak, and we encourage our caseworkers to discuss mutually agreeable timelines with you. It's worth bearing in mind that our caseworkers deal with some customers who demonstrate poor behaviours. Our aim is to always be courteous and professional. We can be empathetic to their circumstances and still achieve the right outcomes. This standard is also about educating our customers so that they find it easier to comply in the future. Our next standard is being responsive, which is about communicating with our customers. The expectation is very simply we will communicate the right information in the right way at the right time. This means that we aim to keep you informed throughout the compliance activity. It's all too easy for some of us to fall into a trap of using HMRC's acronyms and legal speak. In an ideal world, you shouldn't need to translate our letters for your clients. In order to get the best responses from our customers, we need to ensure that our tone and content is appropriate. We should consider communicating with our customers in a way that works for them. For example, adapting to meet their needs and ensuring the customer understands what's happening and when, with no unnecessary delays. Our fact sheets and letters are important. They help our customers understand their rights and obligations by clearly setting out expectations and providing information about the compliance check we are making or action we are taking. We share good practice and lessons learned internally within our teams as part of our continuous improvement culture. Now we'll move on to the final standard, treating customers fairly. The expectation tells us we will establish the facts and make and record fair, lawful, and impartial decisions. This means that we should assume our customers are honest unless there is evidence to suggest otherwise. Make sound judgments based on the evidence available. This includes regularly considering the benefit of continuing with our compliance activity. We make sure our audit trails are accurate and that we fully document our decisions. This includes calculations. We record them within the appropriate HMRC case management system. Sometimes our caseworkers will need to seek advice before they can make a decision. We ensure that when needed, they do that promptly and get the right level of input. It is important that we exercise the discretion available to us lawfully at the right time and in the right way. We have two what we call strap lines. These form part of the standards. On gov.uk, you will find them in the section titled Expectations for Compliance Staff. The first is for all colleagues and explains that they are accountable for the professionalism and accuracy of their work. They should also act in agreement with the HMRC and civil service values to help deliver their commitments under the HMRC Charter. The second strapline is for managers. Our managers are accountable for the professionalism of the work their teams deliver and for carrying out risk-based assurance on their work in real time. They are also responsible for providing encouragement and support through advice, direction, coaching, and learning opportunities that help their team to meet the compliance professional standards. All colleagues in HMRC have regular conversations with their managers about their performance. These are often focused on the standards and how the caseworker can show they are working to them. We will continue to work closely with the Compliance Reform Forum. The Compliance Reform Forum is a joint forum to which we consult and communicate with representative organisations about the changes to compliance checking activities. There is a particular focus on the views of tax agents and their clients. Compliance is a two-way street, and it is important for all parties to operate professionally. There is value in continuing to collaborate so that we can understand and leverage the commonalities between us. What works well? How do we address things when they don't? We will focus on how we can strengthen our approach and make the standards real in our compliance work, so that you continue to see a change in professionalism and improvement in your experience. We will continue to focus on areas where there is the strongest opportunity for improvement. This can be done through a variety of projects and initiatives, such as improving the timeliness of our responses, accountability and accessibility of our contact with you, the quality of our communication, focusing on our letters, and focus our business areas to improve exchanges, particularly in relation to debt. To help us improve services, we ask our caseworkers to issue a compliance intervention exit survey. The short exit survey contains 4 questions that should be sent to both the customer and agent where applicable at the end of compliance checks. They are anonymous and cannot be linked back to a particular case. However, they do enable you to provide us with feedback on the compliance check. There are exceptions where we will not issue an exit survey. Examples are vulnerable customers, cases of minimal contact with the customer or no response, cases that have been generated through a disclosure facility. The exit survey is really quick to complete and should take less than a minute of your time. It's a great opportunity for you to feedback on our performance. And now I'm going to hand back over to Graham for another polling question. So back to you, Graham.
Thank you very much, Vinette. So yes, we're now going to have the final polling question that we have for you today, and I will launch that onto screen. Question here being, which of these is a compliance professional standard? So please select one from treating customers fairly, making tax easy, or working together. So again, just whilst you're taking part in that poll, just a reminder regarding the questions, thank you to those who've submitted questions so far. Reminder, if you're on a mobile device today, then you will need to take screenshots as you won't be able to save the question and answers log. So please take screenshots if you're on a mobile device. If you are on a PC, a laptop or a Mac, I will remind you a little later towards the end of the webinar that how you can go about saving the question and answers log. A reminder too, with regard to the questions, that colleagues in the background will aim to answer as many of your questions as they can today, but they may not be able to reply to them all. A couple of further reminders again about the handout. Please do ensure you download the handout whilst you're live with us today, and also confirmation that you will receive a follow-up email. That will include a link to a recording of the webinar. So if there's any aspect of today's presentation you'd like to listen back to, you will have the ability to be able to do that. It'll be included in the email, and that email will also include useful links. And that email will be sent out to you over the course of the next couple of days. So again, thank you for taking part. Many of you have done so, and the votes have now leveled off. So I will close that poll and share the result with you. And I'm pleased to say the overwhelming majority of you have correctly identified that the answer is treating customers fairly. So thank you for that. I'm taking part not just in this poll, but the one I launched a little earlier too. I will now hide that off the screen and just bringing things back. We are now nearly at the end of the webinar, and here's a summary of what we've covered today. We've looked at how the standards link to the HMRC Charter, looked at why we have published them, at what the compliance professional standards are and what they mean, and at our continued work in this area. If you need more help, then our full range of help and guidance can be viewed online from your mobile, tablet or PC at any time. And links to further help and guidance are included in the handouts. So now, as promised, just to repeat the information from a little earlier, and that's if you are using a PC or laptop and you'd like to save the question and answers that have been shared in the question box today, select File and then Save Questions log at the top of your control panel. You can also save the question and answers log from a Mac. On the GoToMeeting toolbar, select File and Save Questions. As I said a couple of moments ago, if you're using a mobile device or tablet, then you need to take screenshots as you are not able to download the question and answers log. The control panel will close at the end of the webinar, so if you want to download the handout and the question and answers log and haven't yet, we'll give you time to download these at the end of the webinar. And I will leave the webinar open for around 5 minutes to allow you to do this. Just to remind you also, we will send you an email including a link to a recording of the webinar and useful links, and that will be sent within a couple of days. When the webinar has closed, you'll be directed to a short survey, and your feedback is very useful and helps us to keep developing our webinars. If I can ask please that you do not send in any more questions, as these will not be answered in the 5 minutes that the webinar will be left open. So that just leaves me to thank Vinette for her presentation, also to thank my colleagues in the background who've worked their way through the questions that have been submitted during the course of the presentation, and also to thank you for having joined us here today. So it will now go quiet to give you that final opportunity to download the handouts and also the question and answer log. So from myself and all the team here, thank you very much for joining us, and I'd like to wish you the remainder of a very pleasant day. So thank you and goodbye.